We're going to get right into it today. The guest today, Alyssa Charlston, she is one of the very few who can cover the Gonzaga Bulldogs right now in a cool way because Alyssa gets to go to the games. One of the very few in our area where everything's, shut down. There's no fans at games, just the cardboard cutouts and the teams and a few other people. And Alyssa's one of the people that gets to go to the games. Not only does she get to go to the games, after the games, and everyone needs to follow the Zags men's basketball Twitter account, or Instagram account, excuse me. After the games, Alyssa does interviews with players, which is fantastic on Instagram Live. And they do a great job with it. I've been all in on this. It's the only way we get to know these players more this year. Normally by this time, there's a lot of interviews out with Gonzaga Bulldogs across the media, whether it's on the morning show I work for, Jay and Kevin show, or whether it's on some of the TV stations doing non-basketball pieces on players. They don't exist this year. They're just not there because the players aren't accessible. So there's this Gonzaga Bulldogs team that's number one in the nation. And in the last 20 years, this is the team that the Gonzaga fans know the least. It's wild. So people like Alyssa, very, very important to Gonzaga fans because it's the only way I get to see these guys not on the court. Anyways, very happy to have her on. After Alyssa, I'm going to rant and rave about baseball because I just feel like yelling at my microphone. So if you want to hear that, that's going to be about 20 minutes from now. You can always look in the description of the podcast to see the time stamps on when we talk about certain things, including me just yelling at my microphone about baseball like Rant Guy. Here's Alyssa Charlston. I'm excited about this. Get to talk to Alyssa Charlston. And Alyssa, this is the interview that almost didn't happen because I send you a message saying, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And before you sent anything back, within 30 minutes, you have posted a video of you doing a podcast with former college basketball player of the year and NBA or former NBA Jay Williams. And I was like, how do I unsend that invite?
I'm just as honored or more honored to be on this podcast.
Oh, yeah, right.
What are you
doing podcasts with? I mean, what aren't you doing podcasts with Jay Williams for? But that was so cool.
Yeah, that was kind of like this offside podcast thing. A guy that asked me to co-host with him like every now and then. And he is so persistent. He gets like big names on that podcast. So it's like just great conversations.
It was awesome. Well, he got you on there. So he gets all the big names, right? That's how that works.
Yes, exactly. Bigger than Jay Williams for sure.
I have to talk Zags with you here in a second, Alyssa. But before we do any of that, I have beef with you and I need to settle it. Is that okay?
Ooh, let's go.
Why did you quit playing basketball with us at Peaceful Valley?
I was hoping Peaceful Valley would come up in this.
Why did you quit?
Look, I have a stress fracture that I cannot get rid of. It's still there, I swear.
Oh my
2 years later, I had to because I was a post, like glory days, still trying to play and trying to get into other workouts and didn't work because I'm getting old. And I had 2 stress fractures and then one healed. I was in a boot and then I just wasn't persistent. Like I'm not good at being injured, really not good at it. And I miss it so much. I played in the last summer when I wasn't supposed to. And I just, I miss it. I miss just getting throttled by your floater in the middle of the key.
Here's the deal, Alyssa. Don't think we don't have our fingers on the pulse of everything that goes on with pickup hoops. I heard the rumors, hey, Alyssa's playing. And I thought, she's part of the invite and she hasn't played with us. So there's something going on here.
I want to know who you were getting your word from because I haven't played it in a while. I'll shoot by myself like at a hoop, but it's a really sad scene.
My eyes are always on Peaceful Valley Court. So if you're there, someone is going to tell us who's going through there so we know who to text and who not to text to play. So when you're playing there, like without us being there, then we know you're there and that you're just avoiding us. We missed you there because you were one of the best players we had. So when you lose a great player, we assume you left because the skill set you had was above what was being provided for you there at Peaceful Valley.
Just thought I was too good.
Yeah, you have.
Wait, that's such a compliment because I love all the people that play there, and it's so much fun. And people don't really believe, like, oh, usually when a girl walks into a pickup place, they're like, oh, okay, a girl has to play. Like, we're gonna have to change the way we play. And you guys didn't. No. Loved that.
No.
Got my shot blocked several times, and it's so much fun to play with you guys.
Well, we loved having you down there. I will tell you, you have, and when we get to Gonzaga hoops, you and Drew Timme are the same basketball player. The more I watch him play, Alyssa, having played against you, it is the exact. If anyone wants to know what Alyssa Charlston played hoops like, you watch Drew Timme. Every single move that young man makes is every move you made on us to score at will in the post. You have to watch him and kind of feel like, oh, been there, Drew. I know everything you're doing. Been there, done that.
Easy, right? Every single bucket. Wow, that's such a wonderful comparison. I had thought about it a little bit, and sorry if you hear a snowplower. Of course, we get snow today.
I love it.
Snowplower's going back and
I
forth
love
on
it.
the street. It's Spokane vibes. I love his game, and I think that's from the start. Like we joked around about like him having dad moves and like the up and under. Kevin McHale, like that's all I can think of when I see his game. And now all I'm going to think about is me. Like I get hyped after his moves, like a beautiful up and under, underneath the basket finish, lefty righty hook. I don't have the handshakes and all the hand gestures that you had going though.
You didn't
like
have you didn't have a mustache in your playing days? You didn't have one of those? Weird. Okay, well, that's what you can work on. Work on the mustache for your comeback. Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to take some testosterone pills for that to happen.
But you know what it's like? Like he does the thing where he gets so many bodies in the air on pump fakes, and it's got to be just a glorious feeling to know I gotcha.
Yeah, he plays at like a slower pace, like in his mind. He plays at the same pace as these guys. Like he's the coast to coast stuff too. Like, can we talk about that? He's just like taking guards up the floor, but yeah, he's so like intricate with his moves and he's patient. Like you don't see that with other guys in college basketball. Even Luka Garza is not going to blow you away with his athleticism, and neither is Drew. Like you look at Drew and he knows he's not going to blow people away with his athleticism, but he does it with the pump fakes and the action and the trash talk.
We could get really in-depth basketball. I'm trying not to with you, but one of the things I love about him, when he catches it, and you know this as a post player, when he catches it, there's no hesitation as to what am I going to do? It's catch and the move begins, and I think guarding a big guy, that makes it really tricky.
Yeah, he totally like scans everything he's got beforehand, before he even gets the ball. He's like got it pre-made in his mind, but he also like makes the adjustment on the fly. Like if he feels the defense on one side. I mean, it's just, he's so rare. And I think he's the guy that everybody's like, wow, I didn't see him being this good. And he is that good. He's, on the National Player of the Year watch list, a few of them. Like he's just blowing people out of the water, and he's frustrating. He's so annoying. Like I get that because I do that to people, like did in the past, like people that are more athletic than me. You frustrate them because you get them up in the air. You do silly things to them, make them look silly. And
you got, well, I'm just going to live in the Peaceful Valley world. You got one of my best friends, Marcus, on a pump fake once. And we, to this day, we still will talk about it with him because you got him so bad. And he is our elite shot blocker down there because he's a guard who jumps 50 feet off the ground. And so he's an elite at it. And you got him on one, and we were all like, oh boy, that's the one. Like you'll forever hear about it. Okay, Alyssa, I had to get you on here also because I don't know how much longer you have doing podcasts like this with your trajectory, okay? And you're doing now like Pac-12 hoops games. You're calling Pac-12 hoops games. That's enormous. How's that been?
It's been so fun. It's so weird. We talked about it because obviously I used to work at KXOY. I love that place, love those people. But the pandemic took some things away from us and, pros and cons. But I had about a month of like, what do I do with my life? I don't know what I'm doing, what to do. Not play basketball because, I'm injured and pathetic. But
fake injury.
Yeah, fake injury.
Yep.
Just I want attention. I love attention.
Classic.
The Pac-12 stuff kind of came out of nowhere. I'd been bugging them for about 6 or 7 months of just like, hey, this is the future. Would love to do some stuff with you guys. And I don't know if it was like maybe my guy, Bill Stevens at Washington State, reaching out to him a little bit too, but they asked me and I did first one, second one. Greg Heister, the best guy to do it with. He's so humble and like willing to teach, and I'm willing to learn all the time. So, and Washington State is like kind of killing it. They're so good. They're like a bunch of overtime games with the California schools and those New Zealanders. That it's been so much fun. It's like been on the fly. Like I've been learning a ton, but lots of good things have come out of a wide open free schedule.
So, well, you're doing a great job with it, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here for you. You mentioned Heister, and Heister takes a lot of grief, and I know I'm probably partially responsible. I guarantee you I've taken my shots at a Heister broadcast. I have. I I love him though. And I think that for someone who's getting into it, you're right that there's no one better. He's so caring as to what the other person can bring. And he does such an amazing job of bringing stuff out of the people working with him. And I think that is so overlooked on Greg Heister broadcasts.
That's a great point because you're trying to like keep up with his energy. Like he brings like he doesn't do too much. Sometimes it's like the excitement, like the oh, and that gets me fired up because I'm like, okay, I got to track with him. But you can really tell when someone isn't tracking with him. And I think like learning from that and then taking it into my broadcasts with him. And I think like a lot of people are quick to judge for sure, but this guy puts in so much work and he's doing so many games.
Yes, he is. He does every game.
He's everywhere. People are like, is he living in Pullman now? I'm like, I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. He does so many Gonzaga and then Washington State and then so, and he also checks in like afterward, like he wants to know how he can get better and how I can help him and how he can help me. Like he's that guy that always wants to get better. And he's like, I've never called a perfect game. Don't think I ever will, but I love his drive and his energy is number one.
I do want him to eventually do like Mississippi or Missouri Valley games so he can go on the Mississippi for all of the games. So the in-between games, he's just on a boat. Because I feel like that's the most Heister thing would be to travel to every site on a boat and just take video of it. So in between games, you just get fishing videos of him. He's so intriguing. He's very interesting. I love talking to the guy. I'm glad you're doing the games with him. Okay, we're going to talk Zags in a second. But first, I think you like it, and I want to make sure you're the youth right now of America. Are you still into country music? Are you still listening to country music?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Who are the kings right now? 2021. We're talking to the youth of America. Alyssa Charlston. Who are the kings and queens of country music?
For me, Queen Casey Musgrave. I love Musgraves. I love her. She's
God
so
bless
good.
You.
Her voice, and she hits Christmas, she hits summer, she hits emotional music, she hits happy music. So she's my queen female wise.
She also has a great Instagram where she does funny things. I feel like her Instagram always has something very interesting on it. Instagram story, Casey Musgraves, so good. She better have new music this year, by the way, because she's due.
Absolutely.
And she went through a divorce, unfortunately, which stinks. But you go through a divorce, we're normally going to get some heartfelt music. So it's bad to benefit from that, but I feel like we're going to benefit from it.
Yeah, she's going to turn into a pro. We'll say it that way.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good thing for us. I need to check her out on Instagram. Guy wise, male wise, king wise, I think Luke Combs has continued through 2020. I think he's still very classic, like doing what he's doing. Parker McCollum. I really like Parker McCollum.
Okay. We all know why you like Parker McCollum. We've all also seen him on Instagram. Alyssa, whoa, okay, crazy. Would you have been one of the people kissing Morgan Wallen when he's on tour? Morgan Wallen? Okay, I don't ever know. Is Morgan Wallen like the hot thing right now? Like just in terms of looks, is he the hot guy?
Well, voice wise.
For sure.
I don't know, like looks wise, because I'm 6'1", 6 foot.
It's a killer.
These guys, I'm like, they're probably 5'4", 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah, Parker McCollum, I believe, taller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're like in that Parker McCollum, Brett Eldridge, Sam Hunt world.
Yeah, and wasn't he a former football player?
Yeah. Played Broncos. Cup of tea at for the Kansas City Chiefs. So there you go. Okay.
And I turned away from him once I saw him in white jeans. I was like, that's a no from me, Sam.
That's all it took. Okay, so Luke Combs, Casey Musgraves. I like it. So it's pretty status quo going into this year. We're going with it.
Those are like the queens and kings of now. I'm not saying they're my favorite. I like Zach Bryan. I like, I love Billy Currington. Tim McGraw's always going to be a fave. Garth Brooks.
Billy Currington's like my favorite. So the fact that you said that is great. Billy Currington is the guy, you hear a song on the radio, you go, who is this again? It's always Billy Currington.
Yes, that's so true.
It's always.
It's that voice. He never misses.
Okay, Alyssa, you have one of the coolest jobs this year. You're working with Gonzaga. It's a weird year where none of us get to meet the players. None of us get to see the players. We get to watch them on TV. You are in this exclusive club that gets to interact with these guys a lot. It's really cool. Like, this may be the best Gonzaga team ever, Alyssa, and you're the person who we get all our information about this team from. It's crazy.
It is nuts, and I kind of forget about it constantly that I am one of the lucky people that get to be in there and watch them play in person. But in terms of like interacting, it's really weird because I have not seen them in person, like outside of being 20, 30 feet away. Like no joke. They're being serious about it
Which is
because
good.
COVID's a real thing.
Yeah.
And like the closest I think I've been is like the pre-game Instagram lives when I'm up in their face and they're doing like Dunkin' lines and everything. But it's so much fun to get to know their personalities because I thought there was going to be like a disjoint of like, okay, these guys are not really talking to the media often because you know the normal grind. It's like you shoot the game and you go in the locker room and you interview whoever you want for the most part.
Yep.
So these guys aren't getting those reps. And I thought it was going to be like awkward because Instagram live. I didn't know how that was going to go. I didn't know how I was going to be, how to invite people in. Like that still gives me anxiety every single time before as I'm like inviting them in. I'm like, please, please, please.
Yeah. Please accept the request to join, please.
But they all have such good personalities. They're so fun to talk to. Like Julian Strother, the most recent one, maybe it's recency bias because he's the most recent, but he is such a good personality. I can't recommend his Instagram live enough. Like he's so funny.
Well, and that's the thing, like you're doing this thing this year, which I think is going to be the way to do it in the future. I just think it's so unique and so cool. And on the Gonzaga men's basketball Instagram, you interview the players after the game. And it's not just the thing I love about it and the thing I'm so excited for you about how you're doing this is it's not just, hey, on the 13-minute mark, you made a pass and set up this offensive play. Tell me about it. It's not that. It's fun. It's get to know players. I think it's so valuable for us. Now, you talk about the guys you've had on there that have done well. Have you had the moment yet where you're extremely nervous, like, oh crap, I need to figure out something to get this thing going? And what did you do?
Absolutely. That's happened like 2 or 3 times. I think where I try to go to is like, okay, get them to call somebody on their team out. Like get them to make fun of somebody. Because the other thing that's really helpful, and if you tune in actually live instead of watching it later, is you get to see the players comment. So like Joel Oyayi is always in there on players' heads. Corey Kispert's in there. Julian, Jalen Suggs is in there like making comments. And that's I think the coolest part. And that helps me a lot because it can get real awkward if guys just aren't sure like where the conversation's going and like how much they can divulge, because obviously we don't want them swearing. We want them to keep their own clean image and like Gonzaga's image. And they're all respectful, like straight up. Like I'm not just saying that to say it. They're so like good, respectful dudes. But them commenting on each other, that fuels conversation too. I'll go to that, be like, oh, actually Jalen says that he wants me to ask you about when you guys played football earlier this season and how he locked you down as a corner. And then that'll be like, oh, like that's kind of gets them going. It's like that familiarity.
I love it. Joel lives in the comments. He just, it's unbelievable. If you log on and watch one live, he's on it more than anyone. I just love it. He's almost, you're like producing this for you. Just feeding you all the questions is fantastic. Okay, so you get to see these guys play live. We watch them on TV. Is there anything you notice that we might not see on TV that when you watch these guys live stands out to you?
It's a great question.
And there might not be, Alyssa, there might not be, right? Because TV does such a good job covering these games, but you just never know. Sometimes when you're in a venue live, you get a feel for things different.
Absolutely. I mean, their pregame stuff is really funny. All the half court, you get to see Martinez Arlauskas, his personality, because we don't get to see that on TV a ton. And just like their bond together. Timmy's off-camera handshakes, like he's got more of them on the bench. He's got them on the bench with the guys in addition to on the court. Suggs, one thing I noticed that was really funny, and that's by paying attention to Instagram, is like the dime thing where he like has the dimes where he's like they're falling out of his pocket when he has a good game, and then the one against Dominic Harris that didn't go, he didn't finish it. He like picked up the dimes like jokingly from the court. That was so funny. And then
did Jordan Caskey, that is the greatest video. Like you worked TV for a long time.
Yes.
You had to watch that and go, are you kidding me? Because it's the best Gonzaga video I think I've ever seen in my life.
It is so crisp and perfect. And he didn't even think, he was like, oh, I guess I didn't really catch that. I'll look at it later. He didn't even think he got it. And it just like, if it's Jordan, like it's going to be good.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best video guys around. And oh my gosh, absolute perfect. And then there was someone in the comments that was like, this video could have been 20 seconds shorter. I'm like, no. because he had to get the picking up the dimes from the floor. That was important.
I was glad you called that one out. I saw that and I was like, no, you missed the whole thing. The whole thing was about
Yeah.
him picking the dimes up because they didn't get picked up by, the assist didn't finish, didn't go to completion, which was amazing. Okay, so you get to see a lot of stuff off of the court that we all get we don't get to see. We all get to see him play, and we've all got to see these Gonzaga teams play for a number of years. You've been around the team a lot over the last couple of years since you graduated from Idaho. Is this team, we don't get to see him, is this team like the best team Gonzaga's had over the last 5 years? Is it like that kind of level when you watch them live?
The team I always think about, and I know I didn't get to see the 2016-17 team in person as much, but the Rui, Brandon Clark, Josh Perkins team that I think fell short of expectation, losing to Texas Tech in the Elite Eight. That's the team I compare them to, and they're still not as high-flying, throw-down dunks, and Gino Crandall too, like those guys.
Yeah, yep.
Just great ball handling and like assists and so clean. This team is different, but I think way more consistent than that team. Like offensively, even when they're at their worst, they still have the good habits of cutting and like trying to find each other. They're not breaking down and playing one-on-one, which you see every single team do. I've seen Texas do it. I've seen Baylor do it. I've seen Virginia, Iowa. They break down completely, and it's like they fall apart. When Gonzaga falls apart, they're still pretty good. They're still pretty efficient. And like defensively, they're good. They're not bad. They're not excelling, but they're definitely good enough to slow down big teams. And I think this is, out of the teams that I've seen, this is the best team.
Joel is every coach's dream on teaching young kids how to move without the basketball. It's like if you want to show someone, tell them, watch Joel for a game. The dude moves 24/7. He's always moving off the ball. So, okay, well, I gotta bounce. I try to keep these things kind of short. Alyssa, I'm going to get you on when the season gets closer to being done. All right, unless you're already on to doing national games somewhere and you're no longer available, okay?
No. Please invite me back. This is so much.
We will, and we'll talk more Zags next time. Alyssa, I appreciate it. Everyone needs to follow you on where do you prefer people to follow you, to rip you for everything you do? Because that's all that people do on the internet.
Right. MySpace, it's at Alyssa. At Alyssa Charlston. I got lucky because I got on Twitter early and never used it until like 4 years ago, but it's at Alyssa Charlston. No E in the last name. Contrary to every city in the United States that has the name Charleston. Instagram and Twitter, it's just at Alyssa Charlston.
Congratulations on spelling your name wrong. That's very cool of you. Very hip of you.
Grandpa. Take it up from great grandpa.
Alyssa, we appreciate it. Everyone needs to watch you on the Zags men's basketball Instagram after games because the interviews are fantastic. All right, you're the best. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much to Alyssa Charlston coming on the show today. Appreciate her time, even though I guess I don't have beef with Alyssa. I've got beef with Jack Ferris. Jack, you knew I was having her on the show this week, and yet you still put her on yours. So back-to-back days, she's on Sack and Jack podcast, which everyone needs to listen to most weeks. And then she's on mine the next day, and now suddenly Alyssa Charlston feels like she's a Super Bowl interview selling avocados. Jack, I got to get Jack back on the podcast so we can talk podcast guest scheduling etiquette. Okay. Thank you, Alyssa, for coming on. She is going to be a big-time name eventually, so hopefully we can get her on the pod a couple more times before she is off to the bigger and better things, and then we're on a waiting list of people to have her on the program. Jack, I know I can always get you on the program, so I'm not as worried about that one. Okay, before the podcast ends, two things for you. On Friday, we're going to chase the unicorn. Our unicorn, the show's unicorn, Brandon Rose. B Rose, Bros Knows, his podcast was killing it at the end of December into January. Then suddenly he disappeared from the face of the podcast earth. We're going to try to get to the bottom of that. We've got some other stuff, some money stuff Brandon needs to talk with me about. So that's going to come up Friday. Tomorrow it's me solo dolo. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be just me. Is solo dolo the worst thing you can say on a podcast? Is it the worst? I think it might be the worst thing. So I'm going to continue to just hammer it home. It's Thursday, tomorrow, solo dolo. For those of you watching, for those of you listening, tweet at me, at Sean T. Widmer, the Twitter. Tweet at me if there's a worse phrase to say in a podcast than solo dolo. I would like to know that. For those watching on video, you'll notice I have a gigantic thing on the screen that says the wrong Twitter handle. It says @Bommarewski, which was my Twitter handle until last night when I got Sean T. Widmer back. It's back in my life. I still couldn't get Sean Widmer back. Someone's got that. They've got it since Twitter started, and they've done nothing with it. So I lost that one, but I got Sean T. Widmer back. That's the Twitter handle now. Tweet at me if you think Solo Dolo is the worst thing someone can say on a podcast, and if not, I would like to know worse things so I can feel better about the fact that I've now said it 3 or 4 times. Okay, the Big Boy Baseball Writers of America Association, whatever, BBWAA, votes for Hall of Famers. Results come out, nobody gets in. Now, this is a conversation that I think I have every single year at this time, and I continue to have it, and I wait for the year I don't have to have it because baseball is failing for me. Baseball is failing for me. I want to love baseball. I try to get back into baseball this year. I've been trying to talk to my buddy Billy about it to get back into it because I do think it's cool. I love sports. Why not love another sport, especially a sport that's on over summer? The NBA will be over. There's a time where there's no NBA, no NFL, and so I've got a void there. Yes, that void is filled by this little thing called summer, but not summer, but just summer. I would love to have some baseball, though, for the good old classic. Hey, we ate hamburgers and we're watching the Mariners game. But I've been out on baseball because they're losing me to old. They're losing me, an old person, to even older person. And yesterday they do it again. You need 75% of the votes to get into the Hall of Fame from these writers. Curt Schilling's the closest with 71%. Bonds is next. Roger Clemens is next. The list goes on. It includes Venezolano, Omar Vizquel. Includes Gary Sheffield, didn't get a lot of votes. Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, Mustache Man, he did not get a lot of votes. But Noah makes it in the Hall of Fame. And I tell you, again and again, baseball, you are going to lose everybody because sports are not a lock right now. I don't know if anyone's noticed the landscape of things. Sports are not a lock. And the way you make your sport relevant is by being relevant and by adapting with the times. And right now, if you're a young person, you do not always sit down and watch a sporting event. Okay, you'll notice across the board, there's always stories about ratings being down for certain things, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, and then I get it. The NFL is just a juggernaut. They pull numbers. The NBA ratings are up this year, but it's like you can see the interest going down nationally as kids have so many more means of entertainment, right? They've got the video games, they've got their streaming services, they've got them YouTubes. They got it all. And they've got a lot of different ways to fill their time than by sitting down and watching a 5-hour baseball game. So baseball has got to figure out how to stay up with the times. Things like the NFL, things like the NBA have. Soccer has. They're really active social media-wise. They do a good job promoting themselves to a younger audience. I really enjoy that about the NFL and the NBA. The fact that they understand a ton of their listeners are out of the demographic that they're advertising, which is so smart to me because they've got me. They've got me and older. We're watching. We know we're going to watch. So when they market, they do such a good job making sure it's marketed towards the younger audience because that's who they're going to need to get and keep moving forward. I don't feel like baseball does that. I never see baseball stuff out there really blowing me away and going, oh, wow, you're really tapping into the youth. And things like this, when the Baseball Hall of Fame writers are just big old babies and they're just really dumb, they make baseball look dumb as a whole, okay? Barry Bonds is the single greatest baseball player I've ever seen play baseball in my lifetime. And what the baseball writers are telling me is that he's not even good enough for the Hall of Fame. And this is the problem with a lot of baseball fans. They live so far in the past that it loses me. And this happens here in town, where the Mariners are the big team for us in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle Mariners, right across the mountains here in the state of Washington. And there was, for instance, there was a sports show here in Spokane on a local radio station. And I'm just going to make sure Dennis Patchen knows. It's not you I'm talking about, bud. You crushed it. But he had a co-host who always talked about the 1995 Seattle Mariners. Always brought up the 95 Mariners. And every time he brought it up, I thought, you are so old, and this is why baseball has a problem. Because you are living in a time that doesn't even exist anymore, and doesn't even exist for a lot of your listeners. Shoot, there isn't a Gonzaga Bulldog. I know that the Gonzaga Bulldogs are not listening to sports talk radio all the time, but you get my point. And that age kid has never even wasn't alive to see a game. You're talking about something that happened before they even existed on this planet. Okay? And that's what you're focusing on. And I don't care. If I'm a baseball fan, if I'm listening to sports talk radio and I'm trying to get baseball stuff, I don't care about stuff that happened when I was a little tiny kid. I don't care about stuff that happened before I was born. Get out of here. Live now, get involved now, but baseball fans live in the past, and things like this prove it. It's like, well, why would I put Barry Bonds, who potentially cheated, in the same category as one of the greats like Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Lou Gehrig and these names that just mean so much to old people? You know why you're going to do it? Because Barry Bonds matters to an entire generation that gets spit on because old guys are like, well, my time was the clean time in baseball. I don't care. You're going to go away soon. Like, why would I care what you think, man? It's 2021. I don't know if you noticed this, but things have changed in the last many years since you were young, old baseball writer. And so it drives me crazy when the Hall of Fame stuff comes out because these people need to get in. They need to represent an entire generation of people who watched baseball. Is there a tarnished image on the game during that time? Yeah, but was it my time? Of course it was. Of course it was. And so I'm getting punished as a baseball fan because the players I like were doing things that were not on the up and up. Come on, man. Like, a lot of these guys get it. I think we've moved forward at this point from baseball. And the other dumb thing is the stupid, well, I don't want to put him on my first ballot, but maybe 3 years from now we'll get him into the Hall of Fame. What? Ask dying businesses how that kind of stuff works. You know what Blockbuster never did? When they were dying, it was like, here's the deal. We're dying, but I really want to stick to my guns on this fee. You have a $3 late fee. And so I'm not going to let you rent movies here at my dying place until you pay that. No, I bet you if you said, I don't want to pay that $3 fee when Blockbuster was dying, they'd have been like, that's fine. Here you go. And also here's a discount on the movie. We're looking to stay alive. Somehow baseball doesn't feel the need to do that because they think they're bigger than they are. Okay, that's enough of my soapbox. Baseball, I want you, baby. I want you. I want you to want me. Please want me. Come on, baseball. Want me. Barry Bonds is the best baseball player that I've ever seen play. He should have been in the Hall of Fame the second that he was allowed to go in the Hall of Fame. You need to want me. And you need to want younger than me. Please show me. This went way longer than I thought it would. I'll talk to you tomorrow.